Hey guys, what's going on? Just doing a quick video here of my 75 native planted tank. Tank's going pretty well. Just a couple things different. Well, I'm getting some really good growth on my sword plant here. In fact, I'm actually getting a baby sword plant coming in right up here. See right there? Got the leaves and the roots coming off of that. So eventually I'm going to bend that down towards the substrate and try and plant it. It's even got some leaves growing, but that's going really well. A lot of good growth in here, especially for being a low-tech tank. You know, the Ludwigi is growing pretty well. Not getting a lot of growth out of this dwarf sage. I don't know what it is. I think it's these darters, but just about once a day I'm finding one of these dwarf sage plants uprooted, just floating around at the top, and I got to replant them. So I'm thinking it's the darters just digging around in there. There's a couple of them right here. Digging around right there. Yeah, cool looking fish. Really neat little fish. They actually remind me of chameleons, just because when they are sitting down at the front of the tank, they'll be sitting right at the front of the glass, and you come around and they'll look up at you, and it's just the eye that's moving, and it just kind of they kind of follow you with their eye, kind of like a chameleon does. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, tank's going really well. I've got the darters and the daces in here now that are doing pretty well. I was at a local fish store in Evansville the other day that I had never been to, and they had some flagfish, which are native to Florida. I think it's Florida is where they're from. Anyways, they're native, and anyways, they're supposed to eat hair algae some. I don't know if they're supposed to be really a great algae eater. I know a lot of people put them in ponds and stuff to help keep mosquito larvae down, but yeah, anyways, they're supposed to take some hair algae. In fact, he eats the mosses. He's eating that moss is what he's doing. But anyways, they're doing pretty good. I've got some fish in the quarantine tank. I had leeches in this tank. I should say I had leeches on some fish that I had introduced to this tank, or was going to introduce to this tank. And so they're in the quarantine tank right now. I've treated the water. Don't have any signs of leeches in here now. But it was just a dumb impatience on my part, you know, especially with wild collected fish. You know, the quarantine process is extremely important because you get like anchor worms and you know, leeches, things like that, things that don't necessarily show up right away. And I had just been really impatient with some of these fish and had put some in, and so because of that I had leeches and had a problem with that. So I had treated this tank and don't seem to have any more problems with it. But then I've got the sick fish is in my quarantine tank, along with some other fish that I've been quarantining, and so all leeches are gone. But I'm going to go ahead and show you that tank here real quick. Hold on. Alright, this is my quarantine tank. It's got a ton of algae on it just because I don't mess with it. I leave it alone. The lights are only on for a couple hours a day. They're on for about 4 hours a day. I've got some pennywort in here. It was just an extra plant that Peabody's Paradise had thrown in with my plant order. It's not a native, so I wasn't going to put it in the native tank, so I just threw it in here, and it's actually doing alright. But I've got some fish in here waiting to go into the other tank, along with the sick fish that was quarantined. My sister was in town yesterday, and I had been talking about microfishing quite a bit, so she asked if I would take her out and show her microfishing was. So I took her to the creek not too far from here, and we did some microfishing. Actually picked up a couple new species. Picked up some emerald shiners, which is that right there, and then the rest of what's in here are a bunch of redfin shiners, and then I've got the bullhead minnow, which is the one that had the leeches on it. Anyway, so they're all in here. Gonna keep them in here for at least another couple weeks. I've treated this tank and everything like that. Gonna keep them in here for a couple weeks. I know the tank looks disgusting, but it's actually, the water quality's the water's pretty clean. It's just there's a lot of algae that I just haven't cleaned up. I've got one snail in here, I think, to clean up the algae, but that's about all I've got. So that's why the tank looks filthy. Once I finish quarantining these fish and get them over into the other tank, I'm actually going to clean this tank out, tear it down, and then put some Eco Complete in here and start on a planted tank project that I'm actually going to let my wife decide what goes into this tank. She's kind of got excited about being a part of this. So anyways, that's what's going on here. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one. Oh, real quick, I actually picked up some other tanks off of Craigslist, and then here you can't really see them, but there's a 10-gallon there and another 10-gallon right there. Picked them up off Craigslist for 10 bucks a piece. So the filters still work in them. The heater works in one of them. The lights work, but I'm going to replace that. But basically, I just got them because of the tanks, and they both have, you know, little filters that work. So I'll be replacing everything else, but I'm going to turn those into some tropical tanks. I've got enough native tanks right now. I think I'm going to go back and do some tropical tanks. Maybe get some shrimp going too. So anyways, that's what's going on right now. Thanks for watching. Have a good week.